Our guest today has an interesting path to the meetings and events industry, but since joining has never looked back and continues to evolve with his ever-growing site selection business. With a background in film and undeniable loyalty to the blue and white team from Toronto, despite their struggles, he does not shy away from the spotlight or tackling a tough conversation for his clients. As a serial entrepreneur, speaker, and leader, he's battle-tested, always innovating, never more so than during these pandemic times, and full of drive to succeed. Mark Dosman is one of those guys I'm always looking for to catch up with in the lobby bar. This is good.
So Mark, I know how you got started in site selection, but I don't think Mary France does, and I think Ryan's heard the story as well. But yeah, we want to hear how you got started.
I want to hear the story.
Like we're going all the way
back to the beginning. Yeah. Back to the beginning. How'd you get in the business?
So I'll give you the Cole's Notes version. I have a background in film, actually, radio, TV, and film is what I took in school. I graduated with a film degree and moved to Toronto to pursue that career. I became a film editor after a few years, but like any great filmmaker, I was bartending and serving tables to pay my bills. So I really wasn't a great filmmaker, but I was editing. So I would work during the day at the restaurant, and then I'd go downtown in Toronto to the editing studio, because they would only give me the studio from 11 p.m. till 7 o'clock at night, which again should have been a sign for me, like, get the hell out, right? And I did that for a couple of years. And long story short, had a woman, Cynthia, who would come in and sit in my section and bring hotels in or bring her clients into the restaurant. And after about 6 months of getting to know her, she said, "Hey, I want to offer you a job. And I want you to be my director of sales and marketing for my
it's like a pretty woman story."
Company.
Yeah.
So am I the pretty woman?
You are.
Well, thank you.
It's already begun.
I haven't been called pretty in a long time.
Here we go.
So here we go. So I went to work with her for about 15 or 16 months, but I quit that abruptly one day. And I didn't quit that to do this. I quit that.
Is that another story?
There's this. I mean, there may be a story in there.
Can we get the extended version?
But I'm not getting into that story.
No, I think I've heard that story. We don't want to get into that story.
No, you don't want that story.
Let's just tease the audience then. You don't get to hear it, guys.
So I quit that not to start this. I quit that just because it wasn't a good fit anymore. And 6 weeks later, I started strategic site selection and sort of ripped off the rearview mirror and said, I'm going to make this work, come heck or high water. And I actually had started with a business partner originally, but that ended poorly after 9 months as well and cost a lot of money. Yes, I know. I don't have a very crash and burn all over the place, right? But 17 years later, I guess, I'm still here to tell the story. So
it's 17, almost 17.
Yeah. So I incorporated October 1st, 2005.
And how many on your team now? So
pre-pandemic, we were 23. Post-pandemic, we're going through what we're going through right now. I think we're still sitting at 17. It's been a great run. I mean, I love what I do. We had 15 years of growth. I think our worst year we had 11% growth, and that was our worst year, 30, awesome. 40% growth. Yeah. It's been amazing. Been very fortunate, very lucky, surrounded by some great people. And, there are lots of days I wake up and I pinch myself and just think, how darn lucky am I? I remember when I was working for Cynthia, and the first program we were on was a program for, I think it was Canon copiers. And we showed up she flew out to Vancouver for this program and showed up at the Fairmont waterfront on the gold floor and went, what is a gold floor and what is a Fairmont, right? Because I'm used to the Days Inn or the Travel Lodge, honey,
which are killing it, by the way, right now.
They are killing it for sure. But at that time, right, $60, I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's a getaway, right? So anyway.
So I have to stop you. Sorry, Ryan, but I have to stop you because I need to let you know about a little game that we're playing for this episode. And it's a segment that we call Buzzword Bingo.
Buzzword Bingo! Buzzword Bingo!
So it's kind of a bet. So I made a bet with these guys before the episode started of all the words that I think you're going to say during this this conversation. Awesome. So you might hear me scream bingo in the middle of another story. But I am keeping track of what you're saying. And when we see the results, I'll let you know. But yeah.
And the one you asked us to bleep out is not on that one. So you're okay.
No, I didn't include it. It's actually the bonus word. It's, the star in the middle.
The star in the middle. Okay, so Mark,
not using that word.
So Mark, you still got 17. I'm curious. Like, I know it's been a hell of a year for our industry as a whole, unless you're in virtual events, aka Tim. But thinking about how do you keep your team kind of engaged and motivated and like keep that team spirit up when you're doing things over Zoom and not seeing them. And like, I'm really curious. I've thought a lot about that and talked to a lot of your team one-on-one, but just would love to hear as a leader, how you keep them kind of going.
Can I rephrase that? Forget Zoom.
No,
forget Zoom and being virtual. When an industry crashes like ours have crashed and that is your bread and butter, how do you keep a team engaged and around and motivated and
and not
I like my question
ship
better,
like Tim did.
Sorry, Ryan.
Look, it's a great question. No matter how you phrase it, guys, you did good. And together, I can see why you guys are together for sure. So you complement each other well. To put it into context, we've canceled somewhere around 800 contracts, and they're and had the crap kicked out of us like many others in the industry. And there are people that are not making any money or not making a whole lot for sure. I'm worried about the jobs, and I don't know. I wish I had an answer. I think that I probably failed more than I've passed when it comes to leading the team and trying to figure out how to get to that next month and hold out hope for everybody. I do think the one thing that I have learned is there is probably a time to put the gas pedal down, and there's probably a time to ease up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean, everybody's going through something different. And I'm not walking in their shoes. I have no idea, what they're dealing with at home, whether they're home, homeschooling, or what the domestic situation is like with their spouse, or who's afraid of what from a COVID standpoint. So I think having a bit of empathy, and trying to understand where people are coming from is really important. And even at that, like, there are many days I fail at that too, right? Because you're not necessarily built that way. But I don't know.
It's hard
I think
to have empathy through a screen too. Let's be honest.
I think that's a sign of a good leader right now. You've had to change your approach. And if you were like a hard-nosed leader before and it worked, it wouldn't work right now. And I think, you could tie it to a coach analogy with different situations when a team's struggling. But I think empathy right now, it's going to be interesting to see how let's fast forward to a year from now when things are maybe not booming, but things are, going much better. How these personalities now and how we've been, like when we're doing these Zoom calls, we're getting into people's homes, we're getting into their private lives a lot more, how that kind of is going to help teams gel and I think make us a lot stronger down the road. Things can't get any tougher than they are now. So, it's only going to get better.
We just went through like some of the most powerful emotions, right? Like fear. Fear is a big motivator for all kinds of things, and guilt, guilty. I know a lot of people talk about feeling guilty about not being able to work as much or what their outputs are, and then you're struggling even more. I think we can safely say that our industry is full of perfectionists and overachievers.
Yeah. And I saw this last night in a call with you, Mary France, where you were doing like kind of resembling a live event again. You were back at the university and the campus, and like your energy was insane last night. And that was like one day of getting back to the regular thing. Just think of how powerful it's going to be when we're back to the good times. But with that said, Mark, I guess we know about the site selection industry right now. Tell us about some of the other things you've been up to, I guess, in the last year. And obviously you recognized the need to make some changes to the way you go about your business and kind of developed a few different arms. So tell us a little bit about those, and also maybe when you realize that, I got to do something. I gotta figure this out.
It's there's a lot of dumb luck involved in what I've done here too, and I will say, one of the things that I'm really, really fortunate with, even back to what you were talking about the leadership, is I'm surrounded by a really strong group of people, who will, point it out when I've made a misstep for sure, but also are there to catch me when I fall as well. And I think that that's part of what that move, I'm not going to use the word, American. I'm not going to use the word that is the buzzword. Not happening. Not a chance. Not a chance.
No, but I want to hear it. I don't know which word you're referring to.
I don't even know what the word is. Nice try.
Tell me.
So, sorry?
Pivot.
What word is
Hate
it?
that word. Hate that word. So back in the summer,
don't cave.
Back in the summer, we had a client come to us who said, can you set up some quarantine blocks for us and help us? And by the way, we need some help as well, bringing international students into Canada. Do you know somebody that you could refer on to us who could help us do that? By the way, if you could do it, that would be even better. And I walked away from that conversation and sort of went, well, that's not what we do, but I'm not doing a whole lot else right now, so why not? So I made some calls and, surround myself with some people and sort of started putting a bit of a group together to see if we could put a company together to help support that.
And this is legally, right?
If we bring international students.
This is legal.
We have a lot of listeners that don't know.
Do you think he would tell us?
Investigative kind of reporting.
No. It's actually really interesting. So we started a company called the Student Travels. I'll backtrack a little bit. And that company is helping one of our clients, Languages Canada, bring students into Canada. What a lot of people don't know is that, these universities are just struggling like crazy, right? Because the international student represents such well, there you go, right? Of course you're there. Represents such a big number to them to, keep their doors open. And these schools are not seeing that revenue come in. So Languages Canada is beating the drum with the government to get these students in, and they needed help doing it. So I took a project almost to the end, and it really, quite honestly, it failed. It fell apart. And again, I was encouraged to sort of, to find somebody else to refer it on to. But I'm not good at that. I'm not good at saying no. So over a weekend, I started making some more calls and started working with many, one by the name of Christy Contini to go down a different path. And lo and behold, we started a company called the Student Travels. So that launched. We won the bid in October. That launched officially somewhere in November, I guess. And so we've been at that, and really it hasn't taken off like we had hoped that it would, but there's some hope now for the summer. And we have a number of schools that have come on board and said, yes, we're with you. And I do think that it's probably going to be a pretty great summer for it. So.
And you say it hasn't taken off, but I mean, yeah. I was gonna say it hasn't taken off, but that's not because of, it's the government restrictions on the international travel that it is still a chance that a year later it still could pay off coming into September. Yeah,
for sure. So thank you for letting me off the hook, Ryan. Because you look at it and go, oh my God, what have I done? Right?
No, we make our guests look good.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. So, but it has, they've changed the game a number of times on who's allowed to come in, when they're allowed to come in. The 3-day quarantine, 14-day quarantine. Yep. So there's been a lot of changes, but I do think that we're probably going to hit our stride here in the next 30 to 60 days.
And why is that? What's going to help you hit that stride?
Well, we have with the fall semester coming up, there's a lot of students that, there's students that want to be here. They want to learn in Canada, and and so we have this, it's called the Study Safe Corridor that we've set up with Languages Canada to help bring those students in. And I think for a lot of the schools, if they can, avoid being the main, the main point of contact for that and pass that off to us, for not a lot, then why wouldn't they do that? And so we have a number of schools that seem to be coming on board with that now. So yeah.
So Mark, I know you have also delved into, you guys started Sandbox events as well. And so you've got a number of different projects on the go here. If you can go back, some people, we won't use the P word again, but some people were able to, I'm going to use it. Some people were able to pivot early and recognize early that they need to do something.
You get the damn word just tattooed across your forehead, Tim. You just love it so much.
Other people I know are still waiting to see what happens. How early did you know, and maybe you can take us through that process, that you needed to act, you needed to do something, you couldn't just sit around waiting?
So, this is probably going to sound goofy a little bit, but I don't know that there was ever like a moment. I just, looked at it and went, for me, it was about really these two companies that we started. They're really about, even if we break even, but we can help employ some of the people that are on the staff, right? So I have some directors that are 100% commission based, and initially out of the gate with the student travels, we're like, let's bring them over and help bridge the gap for those guys financially. So it's never really been about. It's always been about getting back to SSS, and of course having some success with the other stuff too. But it's been about creating something that's sustainable and able to help some of the people that are, important to me and important to the company to be around long term.
But see, Mark, that goes back to your leadership style. Like that's completely like you're being empathetic for these people that aren't working or aren't bringing in a big income. And I feel the same way at the hotel right now. If I book a small meeting with minimal revenue, even if I break even on it, I don't care because I know it's going to employ a couple of banquet servers, right? And you just want to get some action, and so it's just neat to hear you say that again.
Yeah. Now, when I look at it, when I look at it now, it looks like, hey, you know what? That's actually, that sandbox events thing is a pretty good idea, because now, in the past when we've sold site selection to some of our clients, we went, okay, we booked your meeting and maybe we only book one meeting a year for you. For some of our clients, we'll book 50 and 60 meetings a year, but there are, there's that association that we book once a year, and then we go, okay, we'll call you next year when it's time to start sourcing. Well, now we have another reason to be in touch with those guys. So I do think part of it is that, we have probably 400 clients that we're fortunate enough to be able to serve. Now we can serve them on multiple levels, not only on the site selection side, but also on the, virtual right now, and then hybrid at some point. And when we get back to meeting in person, then be able to be boots on the ground for them as well.
Well, I have a new word. For pivot.
Is this a buzzword? Is it a buzzword?
Well, it doesn't matter if I say it.
Yeah.
How many has?
I just want to know if I'm supposed to use it or not.
How's he doing? Can we get an update?
I will give you an update, but so I can finish my thought. The guys, super distracted. No, but instead of pivot, what I hear, and I think a better word for it, and the new word that we can coin, is really diversifying your services. It's really about diversification, and I do feel that, because it's not so much. Maybe in the very beginning, some people made like a hard right turn, but it's really about offering more, because, when the pandemic settles down or it's never really going to go fully away. But when things settle down and things start to reopen, I don't see you abandoning student travels tomorrow or anything like that. So it's really about diversification, because you're just offering more, right?
Or it will lead to other things as well. You had to do that. Just like the hotel, we had to change the markets we went after, because the markets that would typically fill us were not coming in. You have no choice but to take on new stuff.
And same for us, with virtual events. It's not because we're going to stop. It's a pivot implies like you're stopping something completely. We are now. The pendulum is at full swing, but it's going to start coming a little bit back more in the middle. And then we're going to keep both services. We're going to do in-person and virtual events, right? So it seems like more of a diversification. Yeah. And maybe we can do away with this ugly word that we hate.
Well, and for me, it's long overdue, really. Like I've been having, we've had clients that we've turned business away from for a very long time who said, hey, we like what we like what you stand for, or we like how you operate and how you have our best interests at heart, because we really do lead with the client first. I think that's one of the most important things with SSS, is that it really is about the client. I've always felt that sort of the money takes care of itself. You take care of the client, and we've turned those opportunities away and had other people like, I'm going to go back to Christy, who for the last 6 or 7 years has went, hey, we need to start a full service company. When are we going to do that? No, we're too busy. Well, when all of your revenue has been wiped out for the next 18 months, it's not that I'm not busy, because we just went from being busy. We went we're not getting paid to book meetings, and now we're not getting paid to unbook meetings, right? So we're still really busy. We're just not making any money at it. So
So just to give you an update, my betting skills aren't good tonight. I've got 3 out of 9.
Ooh, it's not over yet.
And what are the 3 words?
Site selection, travel, and quarantine.
Well, I don't know that site selection is a buzzword.
Well, we could count that as 2 words.
These are
right?
This is my bet for your buzzwords, not necessarily the buzzwords of
in general. Yeah,
it is the name of the company, right?
Right.
I know. Well, I had to make some easy ones for me.
I think you need to give them 2 points for that, site and selection.
Thank you.
Give me points. So we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. And if you like what you hear, you might even like TIPP Talks.
TIPP Talks is a custom podcast tailored to your event.
And a great way to highlight your speakers before your event actually starts.
And we'd love to help you figure all that out and make your event an even better ROI experience for your sponsors and your participants. So if you want to hear more, you can check us out on our website at switchidea.co.
So Mark, we've talked a lot about your team and your responsibility as a leader. I'd like to know what kind of growth you've gone through personally in this year, because, being out of our element really, stretches our limits. And I think that's when most of the growth happens. So how does Mark Dosman May 2020 compare to Mark Dosman May 2021?
Well, I'm older and I have more gray hair.
Longer hair.
And longer hair, I guess. And I have less money. That's for sure.
COVID sheet.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think you do identify with or you figure out some things about yourself that maybe you didn't know before. I think I'm probably a lot more. I don't want to come across like I'm pumping my own tires, but here I go. I do think. Yeah, I do. Thank you. I do think I'm probably more resilient than I thought I was, probably. And I am a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I think that I recognize that there are some things that are really important for me to be well each day. I spend more time with my kids than I probably ever have. I think it's taught me to slow down and not work till 11 o'clock every night. And I think it's probably taught a lot of people that. Mm-hmm. I meditate every morning without fail. And that's become a really, really important thing to me, to get up and sort of, get centered. And I work out probably almost every day. I may not look like it, but I like to spend a half an hour or 45 minutes, and it's about clearing the energy, clearing your brain for me more than it is anything else. So,
anything of that, like anything that surprised you of yourself, that surprised yourself? I mean, at some point too, we sort of think, oh, here's who we are. And then any of those things surprised you the most? Or
surprises me that you meditate.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
why do you say that?
I don't know. I wouldn't have classified Mark Dosman May 2020 as a meditator.
Yeah, I've been doing that, went through some personal stuff for the last couple of years as well. And I think I started doing that a couple of years ago, and it's become really important, really important for me. And I highly recommend it to everybody, whether you're in a good place or whether you're struggling. Like I don't care who you are. I mean, there are mornings you wake up, you're going through this damn COVID and you go like, I don't know if I want to pull that first leg out of the bed this morning. Right. I mean, it can be a really shitty run for, can I use that word?
Yeah. It's the only way to describe it.
I would go a lot worse than that.
It's a really shitty run, right? Like it's damn hard sometimes to get up and stay motivated, to go through a bunch of cancellations or go through some of the staffing issues that you're dealing with, or homeschooling. Like I had 3 kids here homeschooling on 3 different levels in the house while I'm trying to deal with contracts. I don't know which way is up today,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that I think those are things that you learn, you adapt, and you make some changes, and hopefully you're better for it, and you're better for it when we come out of this thing too. So
that's great.
Awesome.
So we have another segment for you, another fun game.
Okay.
And normally we use it to loosen up our guests, and I don't think we need that for you, but we shall still play.
I would just like to call out who has the birds chirping in the background. That is just so peaceful and relaxing. Is that your place, Mark, with the birds in the background?
I do have a window open.
Are they real?
Is that part of the meditation?
There's one in every crowd, right? So thank you.
I'm taking over for Tim. It's okay. He took the night off.
Good.
I was going to say meditation. Who needs that? I just need to call Mark and listen to the birds.
Hey, man, anytime you want to come over and meditate, and then we'll have a beer or two. I mean, I'm in. So good.
It's a date. So we have our.
It's not a date. It's a like. Let's come and
I
hang
told
out.
you we'd get there.
No,
We're getting closer and closer. All right, well, let's get after Crazy Eights. All right.
So as quickly as you can without thinking too hard, let's go. So number 1, do you live to eat or eat to live?
I eat to live.
What time do you typically get up?
5 a.m.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Plans or no plans?
Oh, plans.
Personal trainer or personal chef?
Ooh, personal chef.
Which of the 5 senses could you live without?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know. Now that's a hard one.
That's a good one.
I don't know. What would you say?
No. We're black and white for a reason here. You're in color because it's about you, Mark.
Oh,
I'm gonna throw them. I'd go without smell. You don't need smell.
Yeah, I was thinking smell too.
Well, then you can't taste. I get rid of taste because I can taste with my nose.
All right.
I don't like any of those ideas. Can we skip this one?
Pass.
All right, pass. Truth or dare?
Dare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthews or Tavares?
So this is your Crazy Eight.
I'm glad you didn't pick a senator. I'd probably pick Matthews for sure.
Okay.
And are you surviving or are you thriving in the status quo?
You have to ask me that 6 months from now. I'm planting seeds, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Look,
Right.
I think I'm surviving right now so that I can thrive.
Yeah.
You know what? I think
Great
a
answer.
lot of what our industry is going through right now will only be able to be fully assessed in the future when we look back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we really need some distance between what's gone on and what will go on to really look back and assess a lot of things that have been done and have happened. And I think we're still going through it on a daily basis.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we are, but I think it's coming back. I think it's going to come back hard and fast, and it's going to be dynamic, and I think it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. And I think it's going to be, it could be over the next 3, 4, 5 months. And I think it's too bad that we're lagging here in Canada compared to what they're doing in some of the other countries, because it's been a real slow burn for us, but it'll come back for sure.
Now, you mentioned the Senators, and it's no secret that I'm a big Sens fan. You're a Leafs fan. We go at each other a lot. I'm not sure if I still owe you a 2-4 or not. I can't remember where that bet finished off or if it canceled out. But I'm curious.
And to be clear, Ryan, just hold on. Just to be clear, if there was a year for you to pay up, this is it.
I'm trying to remember. I think it canceled
I think
out.
you need to do some ordering online, Ryan. I think that's what you're saying.
So
You could just bet on their next game. Oh, wait. No.
Oh,
yeah. So, that's all right. I'm okay with it. So just quickly, I'm curious. What do you think? Are they going to roll over the Canadians or not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think so.
I don't think so. We'll see.
Okay. So now you've had some time to think about the 5 senses. One come to mind still? No.
I really don't want to give up any of my
Maybe it's
senses.
a fail. Maybe that question's a
Who
fail.
would give up one of their senses? And you just let it happen to you if you had to give one up, right? And have nature
We have no
take it forward.
choice. The question demands it. You must give one up.
Then smell. Because of what you guys said. But reluctantly, I would, for sure.
Okay.
Reluctantly. So.
Well,
Amazing.
let's bring this back to our beloved event industry. And I know there's been all sorts of articles and thoughts on what we're going to return to. But I'm curious, is there something that when it comes to face-to-face events, that something you're really excited to see that we will change and I guess improve moving forward? What's the one thing that comes to mind?
Well, I do think, Tim, you're in the right business. I do think that hybrid is here to stay. I don't think it is for everybody, for sure. But I do think for certain industries and a number of companies, it's here. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it creates some opportunities that didn't exist before for people to bring prospects out to a user conference, for example, or or have maybe a more dynamic trade show component, perhaps. So I think there's some great opportunities that. I also think, not even just for meetings and events. Like I think, the number of times where I live just about an hour outside of Toronto. The number of times I've hopped in the car and fought Toronto traffic for 2 hours to get downtown to meet somebody for, a 45-minute coffee. I don't know that I'm going to do that anymore. I probably will hop on a Zoom call, and I think it's better for the environment. It's probably better for me, and it's better for my family.
I was going to say, it goes back to the time in the day. You're working till 11 o'clock because you're doing that. Now you save an hour or 2 hours of not going anywhere. You can give that time back to your family, their kids, or doing whatever.
Yeah. There's definitely things to keep.
Yeah.
Well, I've always hated,
there's a lot to learn.
I've always hated the thought that there's a virtual school and a face-to-face school, because I've said since the beginning of this that it's all coming on a crash course together, and we're going to take the best components of both, and it's going to be better for our industry because we'll improve the experience of event attendees.
Yeah, well, speaking of school, actually, they just did a survey at my university, and an incredible percentage, I don't remember what it was, but it was really high. It was like 85 or something. They don't want to come back to in person.
Well, it definitely helps with like things like bullying, right? If you're not comfortable in a school environment, now you can stay online.
Just traveling to downtown and parking and all those things that make it really expensive for students who have money.
I know my son sleeps till noon and then fits his schooling in whenever he can, so he doesn't want to go back.
But he's not in university either. He's he's prepping. He's like living the university life already. Goodness.
Well, and that's why
at the same time, there are, when you have, we have some corporate clients who've gone out and, done surveys and said, hey, conference attendee, will you attend our conference next year? And, 85%, 87%, like almost 90% are saying, absolutely, I'll be there in person. Yeah. So I do think there's a lot of chomping at the bit to get back and to meet and
people
interact.
Are going to want to meet, but it's going to be more purposeful, I think is what we're saying, right? Yeah. It's going to be with more intention. Like when we meet in person, we know what that cost is now. We won't take it for granted. I don't think we'll be seeing people looking at their phones during a keynote too much more, unless they're asked to because they have to interact. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bet, right? Maybe. But speaking of bets, I think I've horribly lost mine.
I was going to say, I saw some of these words. We missed a few of them.
So I'm just going to share with you my screen just to close so you can see how decimated I am. I really thought you would say some more of these, but no.
Oh, those are good. You danced around a few.
Some darn good words for sure. And I think we touched on some of them.
He almost said vaccine.
I was going to say, how many did we say? Yeah.
I really tried to get you to say it, and then I thought, okay, let's get back to the talking because I'm getting a little
distracted. And that would be a lead, right? And I don't know that you're supposed to be leading the witness here, right?
Sometimes we do. Just
but you are, I think, our only guest. We've done this 3 or 4 times, and usually
you're our first one to not do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means you're skilled or not skilled.
Season 2.
Probably not. I mean, doesn't use big words, guys.
Yeah.
Pretty big words. So maybe
my accomplices did not do their job.
And I put a few on there that I thought we could kind of steer you towards, but we didn't go in that direction. So I'll take the blame on that.
This has been a refreshing conversation, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Likewise.
That was awesome.
It's always good to, nice to meet you, but always good to get around these guys. And you guys are a lot of fun too. So no wonder you guys are having success on this thing. Yeah.
Thanks for being part of the Illuminate Project podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
To carry on the conversation, follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at IlluminateProj with an 8.
Switch your mindset, stay creative, and we challenge you to not just survive, but thrive in the status quo.